Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm back in the area that started all this for me. Let's keep moving. You'll notice there's a door right there. And there's a...
What is Bigfoot? A myth? A legend? A hoax? Or a real flesh and blood creature? What about the reported sightings of Bigfoot? They can't all be misidentified animals. And how is it that most Native American cultures have stories about Bigfoot? After two separate sightings of a Bigfoot type creature, I needed answers. I have now been researching Bigfoot for over 15 years, and I feel that my journey has just begun.
Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm back in the area that started all this for me. This is where I had my first encounter with a Bigfoot. And I just keep hearing little reports about somebody catching a glimpse of one walking across the road right here, and hearing screams in the night from out this area. And so I decided today I'm just going to come out here and take a look around. Now, I thought long and hard about it because most of my jackets and everything are tan, black, whatever. But all that land right there, that's hunting club land. This land is not. And hopefully this road is not. But I reckon I'm going to have to go somewhere and find me one of them hunting vests to wear, because I just can't sit at the house throughout deer season. It's just not going to happen. So I need to start making plans for such as that. But I thought I would come down here. It's been raining the last couple of weeks. Couple of times in the last couple of weeks it's rained. Thought I'd just come down here and check for footprints. See if I could find any that were not put here by a human being. So I'm gonna get started. I'll catch back with you in a few minutes. Now, what a lot of people don't understand, this is the place where I had my first encounter, but it was also an old grits mill area. And the Army Corps of Engineers decided that they wanted to protect it. And that right there is a gateway for the little water canal that fed the water wheel for the grits mill. We just walking around checking all this out right now. And there's the trough that the water went down. Now, through the years and lots of flooding, other little stream beds have been cut out into this ground. So let's take a walk and check to see what we can find, because there's probably a couple of sandbars through here that I need to check for footprints. And we're gonna get down there on the creek too. And right there is the back side of the grits mill, what's left standing of it. And in a little bit I'll show you the front side. That would be, right there would be basically the basement of it. But there's storage behind that too, so when I get to the other side I'll fill you in on the situation. Now we've got a whole bunch of sandbar right here. Now in the summertime we don't have this, but we got it right now. And it looks like people on side-by-sides have been plowing this up for me, which I appreciate, because it would make finding a footprint out here a whole lot easier. But we're gonna walk all this as much as we can. See if we find anything. Hopefully we can find something out here. And there you go. That's footprints, but they belong to people. So you see why I'm sort of excited to see people tearing this up with side-by-sides, playing around out here. It will hold a footprint now. Now, if you've watched very many of my videos, there is another spot that I do a lot of research from, and in a lot of the videos I will tell you just around that bend is where I had my first encounter. Well, we're here where I had my first encounter, and that right over there is the bridge where I do a lot of my research. I do hope that's shining for you, because I've got sun glare and can't really see the screen that well. But right there's the bridge. This is how close my two first encounters with a Bigfoot happened. So that's one reason why I hit these spots as much as I do. I know that I've had encounters here, and I have heard other people's stories about encounters here. I was actually out here one night on this sandbar in the wintertime with another researcher, and at the time I did not have all the equipment like night vision and all that, but the other researcher, he had some night vision, and he actually said he saw one walking over there in the woods parallel to the creek. By the time that I got to look, I couldn't find nothing, but he swore it, and I did hear something walking through the woods that didn't sound like no deer, so I have no reason not to believe him. But yeah, this is where the first encounters happen. Now this area right here has usually got water in it, even in the wintertime, but it is dry now. And there's also another problem. That's the reason why I'm not walking around out here, is because all of that land up there is hunting land, and I am here on a Saturday, so I just doubled my chances of getting shot at, I reckon, by walking around out here this close to hunting land. But let's keep moving through this area right here. There are a lot of bowed over trees that don't seem to have any reason for them to be bowed over. Like that one right there. Just don't seem to be a real reason why it's bowed over. But a lot of people think that's Bigfoot activity, and in certain circumstances I believe it too, but not sure about that one. And just cause it's bowed over don't mean a Bigfoot done it. Don't mean he didn't, but it don't mean he did it. Now we're walking back up on the front side of this grits mill now, and this place does get a lot of attention, by other people. Lots of people like to come out here and drink. Lots of people like to come out here and ride their side-by-sides. And at one time there was actually 2 geocaches out here in this little area. And that caused a lot of people to come out here and check for geocaches that probably never even heard of this place until then. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the people who come out here and found the geocaches. Something I like to do. But it's not why we're here today. And it looks like the geocaches have been taken up anyway. Somebody probably found them and just took off with them, thinking they had found a real treasure. But either way, let's get on up here to the front of this old grits mill, and I'll relay the report that was given to me one time. All right, we are on the wall. Right down in there is what I consider to be the basement area. Used to be a lot of metal gears and stuff like that, sprockets and all that, but I reckon somebody found all that stuff and decided it was worth more in a junkyard than it was here where it was supposed to be. But they take it away. But you'll notice there's a door right there. And there's what I assume to be a window right there, because just on the other side of that thing is a sheer drop off. But the story goes, and this is what was relayed to me. There was a man come out here one time with his wife, and they were just walking around and checking out the sights and all of that good stuff, when they come across the grits mill itself and walked up to the edge like I did just a while ago. And then they peered over into the basement area of this place. And the man said that right over here in this little corner was a juvenile Bigfoot squatted down. He said he didn't know what it was. He thought it was some kind of roll of carpet or something that somebody had thrown away. To begin with, that's what he thought. And he called his wife over and says, "Hey, babe, check this out." And when he started talking, the thing started moving. Well, him and his wife went into a little hysterics because this thing got up and walked and sort of scurried toward the door. His wife hollered something. I don't know what she hollered. He said she hollered. And then less than a few seconds later, they heard a roar from on the other side of this creek right there. They heard a roar. Well, this thing come out of this door right here, this little juvenile Bigfoot come out of that door, shot across there and crossed the creek and went up the hill. That's the story that was relayed to me. Now, I have no reason not to believe this man, because Bigfoot sightings in this area happen all the time. It's the first, it's the first one I've heard about with a juvenile that wasn't with the adults. But that story right there has stuck in my mind, because At one time, I drove a van up here. I had a van when I first started doing my research. And I drove it up here, parked it right about there, and decided I was going to spend the night out here. Now, I didn't have no bed or anything like that in the van, so I just sat in there in the driver's seat and sort of nodded off. And after a few moments, well, what seemed like a few moments, I was asleep. Something hit the van. I opened my eyes, saw a brown blur, and I noticed that the radio antenna on the van was doing this number right here. So I know I got hit by something. After about 10 minutes of deciding it's time to get out of here, or should I stay, I decided it was time to get out of here. But when I got home, right on the front corner panel on the driver's side of that van was a new dent that I had never noticed before. So I wonder if a Bigfoot come along, slap that truck, and run on. But could have been. Well, we're walking back out here toward the Bronco now, on the road, and I see that all that rain has caused a puddle or two. So that's that. Another one of the posted signs on that side of the road. You know, if somebody asked me if I believe Bigfoot were out here, I would have to tell them yes, because I've seen footprints out here. I've heard them holler. So, yeah, they're Bigfoot out here. Can you make an appointment with them? Nope. So, just had to keep looking. Hopefully get a glimpse of another one again. Because honestly, a good 2 or 3 second glimpse is about all you're gonna get now. It's nothing like my first experience with one. Well, let's walk back down here to the creek above the dam and look out through that way. Now, one time, not too long ago, to be exact, all that little area right there on the bank used to be a sandbar. Now, bad rains come through and wash the sandbars out. And I'm here to tell you that was some rough rains. All of this area right here was underwater. But I've also received an email from a couple of guys who had taken a John boat up that creek. They had taken the John boat up that creek right there. And their deal was they'd go up it fishing on one bank, come back down the other side fishing. But when they come around that corner coming back down the first time, and later the last time, when they come back down and they come around that curve, right out in here, in this little area just beyond the dam, right out there, was a Bigfoot squatting down in the creek. Now, they didn't know what he was doing. They didn't care what he was doing. They just know that he was there. And of course, it freaked these two guys out. So they sat out here in the middle of this water right here, thinking they were relatively safe. I don't see that, but they sat out there for a few minutes. The Bigfoot stood up when it noticed them and walked out across this way up through there. Now, this is summertime, and there was a lot of foliage for him to hide around. But they said they sat out there for about 15-20 minutes trying to figure out if it was safe to get out of the boat. Little John boat. They decided it was time to get out of there. They got on bank, pulled their boat out of the water, throwed it in the back of the truck, and got out of here. Which I can't say I blame them. I don't blame them at all. But then they emailed me a couple of weeks later about it. And it took them that long because at that time they had just then found out that I do research out here. But I always thought it was neat that one of the research areas that I had been searching was actually getting a report from somebody else about something happening out here, and it not happening while I was here. So, you know, when it gets aggravating and nothing seems to happen for months on end, I remember all them reports that have been submitted to me. And I remember what's happened to me, and I go, okay, I'm not crazy. And this is real. And I reckon that's one reason why I like to come back out here every once in a while, keep myself grounded on the reality of the situation, although a lot of people don't believe it. But I'm back at the Bronco now, so I reckon it's time to go to another spot. We're gonna check out the bridge. Catch back with you in a few. All right, so now we are at the bridge, my other big research area that I like to hit. Just walking through here, going to walk down here on the creek bank, see if there's any footprints out here. This is one of the places where I have found them several times. So I like to keep an eye on this area, especially after rains and it's mushy enough to leave a footprint. Because honestly, when it gets dry, I don't think anything could leave some footprints in some of this stuff out here. I just honestly don't think they could. But that's what we're looking at today. And it looks like it's still moist enough to hold a footprint if there's one out here. So let's just walk around and see what we can find. Catch back with you in a moment. Places like this right here are of interest to me because they would hold a footprint easily, and the Bigfoot would have to get water every once in a while. Now, whether he would walk up right there is another story, but this is the area I'm going to be checking out today for footprints over here on this side. And right there across the creek is the sandbar I walked on a while ago. This is This is how close my research areas are to each other. Only separated by a creek. And one reason why I believe so many Bigfoot sightings occur right there at the old mill site on them rocks in the creek is because that area right there in the summertime would be the best place for a Bigfoot to cross the creek without having to swim. And people say they can swim. I don't doubt that they could, but it's probably just as easy for them to walk up the banks, cross over at the rocks, and just get a little bit wet instead of fully wet. So that's why I think there's a lot right there at that mill site. Plus, I'm pretty sure it's interesting to them too, because we all know that they're curious. So why don't they just go there to watch people doing what people do out there? It'd be something to think about, ain't it? Well, we haven't found anything on this sandbar except for deer tracks, raccoon tracks, and it looked like kid tracks and side-by-side tracks. So I don't think we're gonna find any footy prints from a Bigfoot out here. But there are coyote tracks, pretty much everything else. So we're gonna make our way back up the other way and see what else we can see. All right, I've walked the whole area around here and ain't found nothing but deer tracks, coon tracks, and what looked like somebody walking around, and a couple of coyote tracks. But other than that, we're gonna get out of here, head back toward the house, find some supper, and we'll catch back up with you on the next video. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Leave a comment. And we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.